Hey guys, JT Plays here, and today we're going to be exploring the Pendog Creative Archive. We're still in Arborville, and I am going to try and find all the hidden things. Now, I do have the doc up here to help me out, but I'm going to give it a try because it is a little bit difficult. I apologize, Pendog creative people. It's just inspecting elements is my Achilles heel, but we're going to try and find because we're going to look for things to remove. Believe you can go. This is what I want, I think. Nope, it will still not give it to me. Maybe. Yeah, there. Alright, I messed up. But basically, Roadkill Hebe is supposed to take us somewhere, so let me go there. Here it is. How does Bert feel? Bert feels transpedition at the bag of dirt piling up in his mother's home. He's been worried about her every day of his life, but now on this day more than others. For the first time since the last time she hit him as a child, he feels very, very, very afraid of her. Her wispy golden hair, once grown out in long thick ribbons, has taken on the texture of spider webs, lippily clinging to her face as she croons and tells him to come closer to see what her little friend had to say. Bert does not want to. Of all the people in this poor doomed town, he is the one with perhaps the worst inclination as to what's going on. Since he would share with his future husband, who would encounter these things again and again in his janitorial duties. Quick side note, the husband we've met before in the slasher update. He's the guy at the Echo broadcast location. So glad we have that to look back on, and it's something that I covered. But that's who we're talking about, in case you're wondering. So on the final night of Arborville, that death trap of a town, he drives out of this place, and out of his mother's life, not caring where it might take him. As he drives, however, he can hear the voices of his community briefly rising above the tree line, as if trying to carry their owners along with him. Like smoke, like ribbons of mist, the voices rise and tremble and fall after him, singing songs of flowers, plastic, red, and dreams. As Bert turns the final corner out of Arborville, the voices fall as if their strings had been cut. Like a kite, they dwindle and carry themselves back down to earth, drawn in by that dreadful red woman. After all, she needs to devour all of them, even the voices which praise her. And this is a hint to something, in case you're wondering what this is all about. Not you, this. But we'll get to that. All right, so yeah, document there. I apologize again. Not very good, but let's see. Right here, there is something. Using the old tab tool to help me out. Let's see. Um, can I get to it now? No, it will not let me. Yeah, I'm sorry, fellow ARG walkthroughers. It's my kryptonite. All this getting rid of stuff. Back to the dock. Well, I know how I feel. Oh, Lord, no. When Peter sees the woman in the crawl space, he feels as if he should be more frightened. Most children would cry or scream and run. Others might immediately rush forward to investigate, but to Peter, the dull halfway between sticky life and hollow death, the face of his mother does nothing but elicit a small "oh." And I apologize for keep popping up on this, just making sure all the audio is working. Anyway, back to this creepy thing. He's known deep in his little heart that this has been on its way for some time now. His little friend told him so. And though he tried at first to throw it away, it persisted in its message until the assumed lie became a known certainty, a prophecy. Peter, can you bring me some water? His mother cracked, solidifying lip parts, releasing a sentence that does sound like his mother, but also as if it's from somewhere so impossibly far away. A place that echoes like a hollow chamber, absorbing and changing and wrapping sounds within its red depths. A little friend had told him, too, of the red beyond, a place that it would show him one day if he let it, that all the people he loved and the people they loved would be there. It's called quiescence, the bug-like thing murmured in her half-awake state, a state in which nothing changes and enjoyment is had forever. Doesn't that sound wonderful? He doesn't think it sounds wonderful. More than that, though, he had grown numb from the constant changes in the pursuit of unchange. He now finds that he doesn't like this. His mind finds that it doesn't like what it's seeing. His mind finds that it wants to scream. I would too, honestly. Cause what? All this hecate because you couldn't accept the fact that cigarettes are actually bad for people? Well, the fact that people were making fun of her too, but oh, Lord. Nah, fam. All right, what else do I need to see? That is the moonlight extension, which again I will get to. Yeah, I'll get to the full moon thing. You I tried before, but did not work. I think the sleeping. Let's see. Yeah, beat up Hebe. Hey, that's what you get for listening to Mama Bear. You wanted to be something special, something wonderful. I'm going to assume this is the one because of the burnt thing there. When the teleelectric talkie talker first rings, Trevor feels like something has been shifted in the world that though itself changeless, that thought itself changeless. Thought, of course, as a boy as young as him, probably could not describe this in such words. Yet it was true, for on the phone kept in their house by his avid collector father, glowed at by his intensely patriotic mother, and regularly knocked over by their cat, was the voice of a boy on another side of the world, in a place that sounded different from the world of which Trevor had believed himself to live in. It was not a place he would even be taught to locate on a map, only contained in the schematics of bloodthirsty war criminals. Yet all the same, Trevor found himself fascinated. Mutual curiosity was had of each other from the world that killed and the world that was killed. They spoke of many things, from the trees of their homelands to the despicable military which conspired to see the two never able to meet. A boy of whom a young Trevor never thought to ask his name could not be any older or any younger than he was. In fact, the more they talked, the more it became clear that the two had been perfectly matched. Their hair might not be the same, or their complexion not their nor their speech, although through the phone all speech became known, or their economic status. Yet in some strange and indescribable way, the two shared more in common than the worlds which had held them. They would talk about the games they played and the things they liked. Trevor told him to play Red Rover, and he told Trevor how to play shuttlecock. They both liked jump rope. They both liked to climb trees, and they both liked to pull pranks on their sisters, even when their parents scolded them for it. The boys would tell the others about their appearances and draw on pictures of the best approximations of what they imagined the others looked like. From his new friend, Trevor learned about how plastic was made, described through the vague and undescriptive words of a fellow child. When his sister's doll had been brought home, these conversations soon found themselves under attack from a new enemy, one which hated above all things the diagrams and inner workings of that abstract thing known as industry. It was the worm that coiled within communication, clogging telephone cords and filling holes through which one might see the other world outside of their world. Trevor would regularly find the telephone moved, sometimes hidden, once even thrown out at the bottom of the backyard pool, and yet, for all the malefactors' hateful fixations upon breaking it, the line to the other world held strong, as if held within firm hands, or perhaps burning, weeping, remorseful hands, for when one day Trevor woke up from his increasing sleepiness dreams, he found his sister's doll upon his telephone, burnt to a crisp. An electrical fire, shame really, his disinterested father noted, dangling the burnt black plastic faced thing from his fingertips. We'll have to get it looked at after we move. Despite the disgusting look on his mother's face and the accusatory death glare of his sister that had been the end of that had been the end of that. Long into the night, Trevor and the boy continued to speak, discussing how toys were made and what existed outside the land of plastic. A sad fact of life is that, as is common with change, things get lost in the process. Beloved memories, beloved people, the ways in which we stay in touch and in the move from Arborville to Chicago, many, many things had been lost. A cheap plastic comb, a prized lamp, several cases of photographs, and the electric talker. Life had felt strange since that time, and since vital parts of him had been taken within the digits and dials of that old antique thing. Yet that is not to say that the phone did not give something back in exchange, for with him Trevor carried an earnest interest, love, desire to see other people of the world outside his own. He would study abroad in many countries against his mother's screaming objections, encounter the world outside the plastic world, and meet the people who made the plastic of that world. One day, sitting warm and content on the side of a street corner, watching the many people of the other world walk by, a young man approached him carrying a familiar phone. For the first time in which they stood before each other, Trevor introduced himself to Chankeling. And sorry if I did not do so good on that pronunciation. But I find it interesting the mention of remorseful hands. I've made predictions before about how Telly's chapter is going to be very tragic. And I feel like part of the reason why Telly is doing that is because he knows that his powers are being used for bad, for evil, for war and stuff. And he's very remorseful over that because he doesn't want to be a war machine. He just wants to be something good. So I don't know when Pendog's gonna get to that part to Telly, but to any Telly fans out there, brace yourselves because it may be something tragic, something awful. As tragic as my struggles to find everything. Let's go ahead, check behind these trees. I was not built for this. Let's give this a try, then I'll just go ahead and read the rest from the doc. Because it does give an insight to what's going on exactly. Alright, to heck with it. Doc, help me out. All right. How does Eric feel? Eric feels apprehensive about his peers, huddling together in fear, trying to make the best they can of this impossible situation. Eric wishes that he too could find a group of people to shelter with, but it all seems so inevitable, waiting for the end in a different, inconsequential manner. For him, with ever hardening skin, the best place to be during this time is on his own in the woods. The boy nudges aside a couple of rocks and examines the lightly mulched dirt underneath. It's a good place, his companion mumbles in her sleep. You're so wise to be picking out a spot before the last night. I'm sure you'll be remembered by history for this. Eric doesn't really understand what she means. He just wants to ensure his reward is before the others. That all of that of all the squirming and bothersome people in this world, he'd be the first to step into the future. Yeah, that's not a future you want to be a part of there, Eric. Moving aside dirt, Eric lightly startles when he finds the patch of land to be occupied, and sincere marble face staring back at him, or rather is not staring at him, or anything on this earth at all. It stares into the past, eyes turned backwards, and their stone sockets turning a rapidly approaching presence. Oh, a shame that is. I'm sure you'll be the second to meet her, though. The bug's voice contains something he numbly recognizes as knowing mirth. It'll be the second person. I'll be the second person she meets. You're lucky. She only remembers two or three a decade. You still have a chance to be a part of her history. Oh, okay. Well, that would explain why Miss Hecate is after Penny so much. Or possibly why. She wants to meet people. Ooh. Also, I find it interesting how it seems like Hebe is working more directly with her mom as opposed to the other clones. Like, I don't know, at least compared to Harmonia, it seemed like she was mostly on her own, doing her own thing. But Hebe is more directly referencing Mama Bear a lot more. And that's kind of scary. 'Cause you don't want to meet Mama Bear. Jude sure as heck doesn't. Jude feels joy at the crescives of finding a place in the world she finally belongs, and to her resignation, that place is unseen and put away from prying eyes. She knows that before all this, such a fate would have been repulsive to her, something she had tried to escape multiple times but always failed at maintaining. Going outside, seeing and talking with other people had been horribly intimidating, and she'd always been quick to give up on social games, running back inside her small house to be small, away from the world. It is with this in mind that, despite the bodily changes, one night say the only thing changed in Jude's predicament of is that she finds herself happy with it. Or rather, she finds joy in that she is no longer the holder of the decision. Someone else has made it for her. She can still hear their voices from the living room, see the faintest hint of their warmth light on neglected decaying carpet. Has it been 2 weeks, months? When the glowing has told her to crawl into the depths of her home, Jude honestly could not say there was apprehension. Her and the grub had been friends for quite some time now. Her only friend, in fact, and she trusted her. No, not just trust. She knew for a fact that in the words promised was not a hint of deception. You will be hollowed out and made inhabitable for something special then. With your community, you'll emerge as something wonderful. In her heart, Jude anticipates this, fears this, exiles in this. Yet there is also a wonder if this was the only way to submoon herself within something else to find community, even if it is within a country she already called home. It doesn't matter now, does it? The soft lullabies of her friend drift into the room, as they do every night, and Jude's heavy, classifying eyes manage manage to close themselves one final time before the final night of Arborville. This is what is really messed up to me is that Harmonia. I'm sorry, not Harmonia. Sorry to drag your name through the mud, Harmonia, because we're going to see later down the line she's had a change of opinion, kind of. But Hebe here, she's basically killing kids. Like, I'm sorry, but the kiddos are dying or are going to Miss Hecate's wonderful playpen up in the sky. Like, we're getting dark. We're getting a little too dark here. Um, double check Trevor. Okay, that's the one about the electric. Holly is the last, well, the second to last one. Polly feels confused and lightheaded with a splash of awful red, her brain crawling to free itself from the clouds, dust, and violent swirling around ever-growing pantheons which sprout from her brain, her spores under her fingernails. There are gardens there, too, in the other world, with voices from a far-off party which waits to open and close its doors. There was something before this, as there always is, for there can not be an after without the before. Yet in her case, this is exactly the problem as something before her time clutched and lashed out for relevance. She could sense fear there in the other garden, and it mixes with her own fear at the state statue she finds herself trapped in. A fear of the unfinished, a fear of the future, a fear of the past. Walking from place to place is done with ever increasing burden. Little feet weighed down by marble, and it's gotten to the point where it's easier to shuffle and slither about than take a single step. And her family, and her friends, and the young man at the flower shop she loved to tease, and the woman who taught her to braid her hair, the man who sat with her on a bench and taught her to feed the birds. They shuffle along too, towards the forest, towards the damp ozone reeking earth and the bugs and the undergreen. It is in this that she tries to take comfort, for whatever it is which will ultimately take her, in that her beloved community will be there with her. Yet this quickly brings with it a long antagonized dread, because she does not want this for them. There are these are her people, and if anything was to happen, she would rather it only claim her. Even if such a horrible horror was experienced in lonely, terrifying isolation, she would rather her than them. And they trudge along the grass moss road, into the depths and the murk and the deep, where she fears they will become something special, something wonderful. What do they all feed? Is the last one. Misplaced blame to the people of the other world. Even in their final moments, many seethe and spit with patriotic favor towards that unknown murderer of the other hatred repulsive world. A world written about in the margins of their tabloid history books, but also the editorials of bloodstained top industry press. To them, even like this, the idea of what was within the world they called being the disease which crept within and hollowed them out seemed illogical, impossible. Yet for all their denial, history marched forward, dragged them deeper into the forest. From every forsaken crook and novel, the inhabited spaces drew awake. Cracked and marbled bodies moved with during effort. If one was to get close, which would be inevitable, would see that from the crack and the stems of these Americans spewed and glowed a red from the world within the world that divided itself across red weeping lines, the future of which she dreams had been gaslighting, feeding. When the moon turns her gaze upon them, in their panicked motion eyes, there is relief. The world turns a stickly, but to them a welcoming shade of green. Yeah, I'm watching. I'm watching, Miss Habibi. And I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And I'm not the only one either. This is JT signing out. See you guys next time. Peace.